All right. So thank you for bringing that question up. It's good for us to build up on our expectation and what to expect. I always tell people, expect the worst case scenario. He has done that. So there's nothing new. Whatever he brings, you are equal to the task. You can do it because others have done it. All right. So we've spoken to common size analysis. Now we come up with ratio analysis. Ratio analysis. So the question asks us to do profitability and efficiency, but I added liquidity. Why? Because liquidity is a cardinal ratio. So even if you're not asked to do it, at least current, acid test, and cash ratio shouldn't waste your time. You could use that to build up a discussion. So in the scenario, I did not ask for liquidity, but then I provided computation for liquidity and also gearing that was asked. So the key ratios for profitability mostly are ROAS, GPM, OPM is not a key ratio, but net profit margin is a key ratio. Those are those three key ratios. Therefore, efficiency, inventory, receivables, and payables. I didn't do payables here, but you can do payables under exam condition. Then current and acid test, I didn't do cash. So you can do cash under exam condition. Then gearing is debt to equity. So I provided a trend commentary for you to be able to follow through and understand what transpired based on these computations. So ratio analysis is the third, then this is for requirement 2. So having done that, let's go and discuss requirement 1 based on these ratios. Let's go and discuss requirement 1. All right, so requirement 1, your header. Don't forget this, our format we are following. Requirement 1 should not state requirement 1 or financial statement analysis or whatever it is. Please state the requirement verbatim, but in summary form. So I said Folak Motors performance, assessing profitability and efficiency, including. So I summarized it. It's not everything I copied here. You can just say an evaluation of the performance of Folak Motors looking at profitability. So whatever it is, just do something summary to provide your thoughts on this. So the first box we'll be speaking to, and don't forget, you need to achieve superior achievement to have 4 thoughts or 4 points in different sentences under the first box. So we're looking at the general overview. We said the data and information we are assessing, this is use of data and information. Now we can't use that under exam condition. These headers are for the examiner. Don't write these headers under exam condition, please. So use headers that resonate with you. So we use that header as general overview, and we don't need any computations for that. From the exhibit, we got all this information. So the first one, we said the motor repair subsector operates in Nigeria, and we got this either from exhibit 2 or 3. But don't say C exhibit. I think in one of our mocks, I saw some candidates writing in brackets for this box, C exhibit. No. The exhibit is from the examiner. Don't write C exhibit. You did not come up with the exhibit. So just discuss the overview. The examiner has the exhibit. He gave you the exhibit. What the examiner doesn't have is the appendices. And that is why you should say C appendix, not exhibit. Don't cross-reference the appendix. Yes, please.
Yeah,
yes, please. Go ahead.
I want to talk about the exhibit. That you said we should not cross-reference the exhibit. Will it not amount to plagiarism if we don't do that?
No, you are writing an exam, not a thesis or a project. It's an exam. It's an exam. So an exam is different from a project. So you're writing an overview based on the exhibits that was given to you in an exam. If you're writing a project or a thesis, then it will amount to a plagiarism because you need to reference. But what you are doing here is cross-referencing. Referencing and cross-referencing are 2 different things entirely. So take note of it. The exam. Yes.
You can copy from the exhibit verbatim.
Yes. I won't suggest verbatim. I'll just suggest you putting it in your own words. I didn't copy from the exhibit. There's no where you see I wrote this verbatim from the exhibit. I didn't copy it verbatim. I just wrote it in my own words from what I understand to give an overview of what's happening based on the boxes. I just used the data to coin out from this statement, or the first statement, you see that I said the motors repair subsector operates in Nigeria's fast-growing services industry, contributing significantly to employment, mobility, and economic productivity. But it faces challenges such as informal operations, limited technical training, infrastructure constraint, weak regulations, and finance gaps. So this statement was coined by me, but it was derived from that exhibit, not verbatim. So put it in your own thoughts, and that will make a lot of sense. Yeah. All right, good questions, good interactions. I'm really enjoying the class. All right, so the B aspect is from one of the exhibits. I won't state the exhibit because I just picked them from what I read. I said the Nigerian motor vehicle sales and distribution sector spanning 2022 remains a vital component of the economy, driven largely by imports due to limited local production capacity. So if you've done 2-3 lines, you are okay. Don't do, how many lines did I do now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can't do 10 lines under exam condition. I provided this for you to be able to read and have what to write. You can't do 10 lines under exam condition to pick 1 mark per box or 1 mark for the 4 superior achievement. So 3-4 lines is okay. Because you are writing, don't forget, you are not typing. Even if you are typing, you can't be that fast. So just write 3-4 lines. Yes, please, Susan. Your hands are up. When I saw Susan, that's my wife's name. I just remembered. It's my wife
for
on the
this
call.
general overview, how many points do we have?
Yeah, so for each box, superior achievement is 4. So 4 points per box will suffice. So you have superior achievement, which is 4. You have 3 competent achievement. If you provide 3 points under a box, then 2 is below competent achievement. If you provide 1, no competent achievement. If you don't provide anything, is void. So our quest is for 4. I gave you about 6. Why? So that you can have what to read and a plethora of what to write. But under exam condition, 4 is the max. You could write 5 anyway, but the examiner will still mark you for only 4. Give you the best 4 and move on. So my wife's namesake, is that fine with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So the second point is on the exhibits also. Then the third point is the motor spare parts services center and spare parts sector in Nigeria is expanding alongside the growing automotive industry. Still from the exhibits, coined that. Then this is from exhibit 5, the Preseen, talking about the unaudited financial results, looking at revenue. So that could come here, looking at their performance, their assets. I summarized everything, gave the 4th point. The 5th point, I looked at gearing ratio, even though the gearing ratio was provided in exhibit 10, and it's the industry average with that of motor vehicles. It's not the computation from the appendix. So from that, the market average, I provided some thoughts on that. It's still from information from the exhibit. So any information that is added to the unseen that you did not come up with yourself, you could provide thoughts on it on the first box, whether requirement 1 or 2, just to pick your marks. I also talked about the receivables in that average, and I talked about other loss also. But 4, don't go more than 4 so you don't waste time. 4 hours is like 40 minutes in the case study, so try to maximize your time. So a lot to read about. Then now we move to the second box. We are done with data and information. The second box is about the computations we made. Computations, professional tools. We're analyzing the ratios we calculated. So we use performance analysis. You can use computation analysis, whatever header you're trying to speak to the numbers you computed. So number 1, we said the gross profit margin remained stable at 14 point blah blah percent in 2024, indicating slight pressure on material and import cost. We referenced the appendix. This is where you reference appendices now. Take note of it. Secondly, we said efficiency ratios indicates mixed performance. Inventory turnover decreased from 37 to 34 days, suggesting faster movement of stock, blah, 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 blah. We said conversely, receivables days deteriorated from 128 to 131, above the 60-day credit term in the exhibits and 90-day market average. So you can see We reference the appendix. Number 3 is gearing ratio. We said they remain both high at these percentages. And the market average is 65. So we said the constant reliance on debt financing, particularly long-term debt over 1 billion against equity of 448.58 million, underscores the company's aggressive leverage strategy to support operations, inventory build-up, and working capital. So please just write based on the numbers. It's a writing exam. Cross-reference the appendix. Then we came to profitability ratios to look at generally how profitable the business is. And we concluded by saying the company has maintained modest bottom line profitability. We said see appendix. Then we came to liquidity ratios, spoke about current, spoke about acid test. And we said it's hovering around 1:1 threshold, highlighting that the company has minimal room for delays in receivables and unexpected cash flows. And we reference the appendix. So everything you do in box 2 should cross-reference the appendix because you're using professional tools to speak to your numbers. And ratios, trends, common size. And this is where if you are asked a model, you also speak to the model in professional tool. A model is a professional tool. So strategy models or performance models are tools. So this is where you come up with them. If he asks you to use a model, you speak to them in box 2 and box 3. So box 2 will be where you talk about the model. You could provide the diagram in the appendix, then you talk about the model. Then box 3, you analyze the model based on the scenario. Very simple. Very simple. You've gone through my past questions on how models were tested. Between box 2 and 3 is where you do justice to that. All right, so let's do our analysis now based on the trend. The third box we are speaking to is our analytical skills. Now, we said from the income statement, we did trend analysis in the exhibits, which is the appendices, which is appendix A, 1A. So we spoke to the income statement trend from 2023 to 2024 shows moderate revenue growth of 5% to 1.8 billion, largely driven by price increase rather than higher sales volume. We also concluded by saying that the sales or the performance is supported by lower interest costs and effective management of tax provisions, and we said see appendix 1A. Then we spoke to Folak Motors asset base. We looked at the trend also, and we spoke to the numbers. And we concluded by saying the trend indicates steady asset growth with a continuous emphasis on operational and strategic capacity enhancement. Third point on this trend is we looked at the liabilities. We said the liabilities increased by 4.2% from 2.3 billion to 2.4 in 2024. And we concluded by saying the trend indicates a continued reliance on debt financing to support operations and asset expansion, contributing to the company's high gearing and financial leverage. See appendix 1A. We also said the equity increased also from the financials, while share premium declined by this percentage. So we earn 1 mark. So once you've spoken to 4 of the trends, there are many things to write, but then you've spoken to 4, I give you like 6. You have superior achievement to move on. You don't have time. Because a lot of people get tempted to flog or overflog requirement 1, and they have less time for requirement 2. I was also a victim of that. Requirement 1 is always very sweet, and requirement 2 is always pepperish. You always have time issue with requirement 2. But then try to discipline yourself to stay with 4 points. Write 4 points and move on. Because you have a lot to talk about, so you want to overflog it. And somebody will tell me that if I write only requirement 1, or somebody asked me, can I pass case study? I'll say the answer is yes and no. And I'm strongly gravitating towards the no because you did not attempt. Try to attempt requirement 2. 50 is the pass mark, fine. But if you decide to do only requirement 1, the examiner will be like, oh, you left requirement 2 thinking you did justice to requirement 1. He can bring you back. You see, case study is a paper where fundamentally, if you have a challenge, the examiner will just tell you come back, not based on what you wrote. Come back and correct that problem. So please attempt requirement 2. Don't overflog. I didn't say finish requirement 2 because it's hard to finish requirement 2, but try to attempt it. Start something. Let him see that, oh, you are in the process, then time cut you off. Very important to take note of. I think somebody posted something on the chat box. Am I lost with the way I'm saying this? Okay. Somebody's asking a question in the chat box. Are you lost with the way you are saying this? What's the challenge with the way you are saying it, please? What's the challenge? Is the person on the call? Are you having problems with seeing the screen, please? Do anybody have problems with the screen, the presentation or something?
No, sir.
Okay. Oh, okay.
No, sir.
Okay. Somebody posted on the chat box that
when network dropped me off, the network took me out for some minutes then.
Oh, sorry about that.
So by the time I will come back, I think you guys have gone far. That was I felt so bad and said that with the way I'm saying things, I thought but it's okay. I've been following up.
Apologies. It's actually recorded, so maybe you just go through the recording on YouTube once we upload it. I'll try to upload it quickly. Sorry about that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Right.
No, I'm actually following up. But then it seems as if I really missed a lot. I'm good.
Okay. Sorry about that. Network could be challenging. All right. You're welcome. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So for the analytical skills we've shared on the trend analysis, we shared about 6 points. So 4 will suffice. Please go ahead and speak to 4. Then for challenges and considerations, you're looking at the issues and options. What are the issues and what could be the options to get the company out of those issues? So one of the issues we spoke about is gearing. Gearing is about 84%, well above the market average of 65%. And it's a significant constraint for financing new projects through additional debt. So we concluded that underscoring the need to consider alternative financing options such as internal funds, equity injection, or strategic partnership. So what you're discussing here in this parameter for challenges and consideration. Yes, please, go ahead.
You said gearing was 80% as against the industrial average of 64%. Is it that that's a generalization or it was specified? I don't understand, sir.
Okay, so from the scenario, if you look at what we computed, even though based on most of the data were based on the prediction, you'll see that gearing here, you see that there's 65%. But based on the selective market data, this is 84%. It's just a prediction from this unseen we used to speak to those numbers. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, I can see it.
So see it, 84 to 65. So this selective comparative market data and financial indices for 2024 was what was provided in the unseen or predicted unseen.
It's provided. Yes. That's just what I wanted to clarify.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's provided. Yes, it's
Thank
provided.
you so much, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're speaking to the thoughts on the high gearing, and this could be a challenge we're trying to address. Then for the second point, we're saying that the extended receivables of 131 days, significantly above the 60-day credit term, could be a challenge. We said this situation heightens cash flow vulnerability, especially in a high leverage environment, emphasizing the need for stronger credit control and proactive risk management. So this is another challenge we're speaking to as an issue. Number 3 is the heavy reliance on Forex and imported vehicles and spare parts, representing a primary strategic risk. And we said this dependency limits pricing flexibility and underscores the importance of developing local sourcing strategies or hedging mechanisms to mitigate FX-related risks. So this is also a challenge. So there is no yardstick in speaking to challenges or considerations. If you have all challenges, bring them here. Don't just go more than 4. If you have all considerations, bring them here. If you have 50-50 challenge, 50% challenges, 50% contribution, there's no ratio, there's no yardstick or benchmark. Whatever it is, just meet the critical points that you want to bring to the fore of management. Just put them, and once you achieve superior achievement, you go ahead. 4 of them. So don't say challenges and considerations and everything I provided there. It looks more of challenge. Yeah. Anyone that resonates with you in context of the case, please provide it, whether it's a challenge or a consideration. So the fourth one is the company, or I provided, is that the company must carefully manage its inventory levels in response to Naira depreciation and potential supply chain disruptions. We said conclusively that requiring a balance between availability and liquidity. And finally, we said investing in modern digital diagnostic equipment. That's all this equipment they use to test or scan vehicles, as indicated by the 31.2 million impairment loss. The company must ensure. So this is a consideration. This last two are considerations. So achieve false superior thoughts on submission based on challenges and consideration based on the scenario, and you move on from that box. And the next box is very critical. So without this box, you may not pass case study if you don't provide this box. You must talk about ethics. Very, very important. You must. You can decide not to even include those 4 boxes or the first 3. How many boxes now? 4 boxes, yes. But if you don't do this box, I'm reiterating it, it will be challenging to pass case study because the examiner is clear. Ethical considerations issues must be discussed. So please take note of it as you write the case study paper. So there are ethical issues. Number 1, it's important to note, most of us have started noting it on the platform when the Preseen came out. We saw that it's an unaudited financial statement, so it's a clear ethical issue. External auditors have not vetted the numbers, so they are subject to scrutiny. So stakeholders should exercise caution when relying on them for investment, lending, or strategic purpose, as the reported numbers may be subject to adjustments. And some of the numbers, you see that there were issues in the numbers. Some of us pinpointed those calculation errors in the numbers. So, and those are audit issues. So that's a critical or an ethical issue you must point out. A follow-up on this point could be the second one. Speaking to the financial statements unaudited, there are possibilities of adjustments which may follow a formal audit. So it includes revenue recognition, asset. So you are not replicating this first point. You are just saying that this is a follow-up of what could happen to the audit that will be done. So there are 2 separate points. Take note of it when you read it between the lines. And I concluded by saying, highlighting the need of the stakeholders to treat current figures as preliminary and subject to verification before making financial or strategic decisions. So they are not the same points. They are different points. Number 3, we said another ethical issue is the issue of gearing. You see, it's appearing here. So you could replicate some of the points because it's a. We said it indicates limited capacity to safely take on additional debt, and before pursuing significant new financing, the company must strengthen profitability and improve operational efficiency. Number D is the issue of the head of procurement's proposal to use high-quality, non-original equipment manufacturer's part. We said this is kind of ethical. It's an ethical issue because it may potentially damage customer trust and the company's brand reputation. We also said the non-disclosure, if they don't disclose this, a follow-up to the 4th one, but you don't need to do 5. 4 is okay. So go through it. We're trying to run because of time. Then risk assessment, which is our evaluative skills and judgment. And that's the last or the 6th box before our conclusion and recommendation. So the 6th box talks about expressing our evaluative skills and judgment, and that's what I call risk assessment, but you could use another tone or term that resonates with you. Looking at that, we're using high gearing as a risk now. We're saying negatively taking on additional debt in this context could exacerbate strain, increase interest obligations, and heighten vulnerability to economic or currency fluctuation. So positively, it could address the high leverage and improve operational efficiency. So it's a two-way thing. Risk is two-way. So it now depends on what the board decides to go with. It depends on the board's risk appetite or their risk tolerance. Very important. I know we have a lot of risk people on the call, so you understand what I'm saying. And the B aspect is working capital. We spoke about working capital bottleneck driven by these high receivables. And we said negatively the tie-up of cash limits on the company's ability to invest in growing or growth initiatives or modern equipment or new projects, constraining strategic flexibility and showing or potentially slowing competitiveness. But on the positive side, it highlights the bottleneck, creates an opportunity to implement stronger credit control, optimize cash conversion cycles, and improve liquidity. So we are looking at risk from two perspectives, the positive and the negative. In the C aspect, we said prioritizing ethical compliance over achieving that 35% margin is risky. Negatively, insisting on full disclosure of the non-original equipment manufacturer's parts may reduce immediate gross margins, while positively maintaining transparency and ethical standards protects the company's reputation. So you're looking at risk from those perspectives. Then that of Forex and import dependency. We said the dependency heightens financial risk and supply chain uncertainty, while positively recognizing this risk allows the company to explore hedging strategies, local sourcing, etc. So if you give 4 of this, you're okay with the conversation. And finally, very importantly, you must conclude and recommend. So based on their conclusion, we're concluding first on the financial performance. And we said the performance remains low, below the market average, especially looking at the operating margin and the return on capital employed, reflecting poor operational efficiency. And we said these factors indicate that the company must address both operational and financial inefficiencies to achieve competitiveness and sustainable growth in the Nigerian automotive market. So we're not recommending, we just concluded by saying this. Second point on capital structure is highly leveraged with a gearing ratio of 84%. And we said that to support growth sustainably, the company has to explore additional financing options. We are concluding on the company improving operational efficiency or strengthening or retained earnings before undertaking significant new projects. The third one is the issue of the original equipment manufacturer's part. And we're concluding to say that it needs to maintain transparency and ethical compliance, which is critical to protecting the brand. We concluded on that. Also, the fourth one is on high exposure to Forex. Concluded on that. Slow receivables is the fifth one. So if you have 4 conclusions, you've achieved superior achievement. And for the recommendations, you are attending to the conclusions. What's the solution to what you concluded? So the first one is the issue of aggressive debt collection. How should they solve them? They should reduce receivables from 31 days to 90 days based on that average within 6 months. So you see, you are giving them timeline now because your recommendations should be smart. It should be specific. It should be measured, realistic, and time bound. And you are saying this can be achieved by, you see, you are specific. Segmenting overdue corporate clients. You can't just recommend and say the company should reduce receivable days. How? That's not recommendation. It has to be specific. It has to be smart. So make your recommendations very clear. Don't write vague recommendations or generic recommendations. So please take note of it. Then the B part, you see that we're specific on prioritizing equity injection. And we put timeline in the next 9 months, given the already high gearing level. We said this equity should be sourced from existing. You see, we are going how? Making it realistic, attainable. Very important. Then the C part is the area of original equipment manufacturer parts. And we said not later than, you see, we are specific and time bound with clear customer communication templates approved by legal and compliance teams. You see, we are specific or made our recommendations smart. The fourth one is the issue of heavy reliance on imports by implementing a structured Forex risk mitigation plan starting Q2 2026, targeting a measurable 15% reduction in FX procurement within 12 months. And we gave the recommendation and we were clear. So all our recommendations are smart. Please take note as you write recommendations to make it smart. Let it not be vague. All right. So having said that, I like the technique of going to write your executive summary if you're done with requirement 1. It's a good technique for me. I think it works because of time. So having said that, executive summary now. We've done requirement 2. Requirement 1, the first thing is the introduction. You do your introduction and that speaks to the report and everything that has to do with requirement 1 and 2, what the report is all about. So 1, 2, 3 lines shouldn't should be enough for an introduction, 1 through 3 lines, because you need lines, you need space to findings and the conclusions and recommendations. Introduction and the methodology and the assumptions and the assumptions and the skepticism will not earn you marks in the executive summary. They are not necessary. So briefly state them. What will earn you marks is the findings, conclusion, and recommendation in summary form. And I think overflogging the introduction, the assumption, the computations, or whatever it is from the introductory aspect is what makes people go beyond, what make candidate go beyond 3 pages. Make that brief, please. The introduction should not be more than 3 lines. The analysis applies. The methodology should not be more than 3 lines. Your assumption, your skepticism statements should not be more than 1-2 lines. What is important is the findings and the conclusion and recommendation. This is where you earn the marks. So having introduced the requirements 1 and 2 briefly, we've spoken to the methodology. We said we use trend, common size, ratio, quantitative appraisals like MPV. We also said all detailed computations are in the appendices. We said the report assumes that Folak Limited is operating in a challenging FX-sensitive growth environment, blah, blah, blah. Now we'll now come to the findings. Your findings are in your 8 boxes. So give 2 important and critical findings. So number 1, we said Folak achieved 36%, which is very important for the board to know. Increase in net income. You don't need to reference the appendix. The appendix is there for them to check. You can reference in the body of the report, but don't reference any appendix in your executive summary. Secondly, we said the gearing is high. So 1 seemingly positive, 1 negative finding. 2 is fine for your executive summary. Then for the conclusion, 4. Maximum of 4 to achieve superior achievement. So from your write-up, you just summarize all your stories in the conclusion write-up into 1 or 2 lines. If you read your conclusion, we just did now, you see that it's the same thing we did here, but in very short form. Don't forget we said our executive summary are a snapshot of what happened in the detailed report. What happened in the detailed report. So it's very important to take note of. So this is the first point. We said performance is below market average with low profitability and operational inefficiency limiting sustainable growth. Now said the company's high leverage structure. We spoke to that shortly. The original equipment manufacturer parts issue. We spoke to it. We concluded on it. Heavy reliance on import. We spoke to that. Slow receivables in short form. So if you give 4, you achieve superior achievement. Don't forget your executive summary is 20 marks. So you see, this is how you are marked. The findings 1, 2. 4 of these 8. So for requirement is 10 marks. Requirement 1 is 10 marks. The same thing for requirement 2, 10 marks. And that's how you're giving 20 marks. So take note of these nitty-gritties. So 2 findings, 4 conclusions, and 4 recommendations. So for the recommendations, the same thing we did in the body of the report. We said implement an aggressive debt collection and factoring program to reduce receivable days from 131 to 90 days within 6 months. 2, we said prioritize securing an equity injection. 3, enforce mandatory full disclosure of original equipment manufacturer parts by Q2. Introduce a sensitive risk mitigation plan, Q2 20. So all what we did in the main body of the report is what we are replicating here, but in short form, so that the board, if they don't want to read the full story, the executive summary is a snapshot of everything you've done, the volume of work you've put in. Exactly what you could do is to provide these thoughts, and that's what the executive summary is all about. Most of the times, the board of directors don't have time. They just go to your executive summary and they don't read the body of the report. And that's why executive summaries are very important. All right, so that's it for the executive summary. And we have addressed question 1. Do we have any questions on executive summary? Anybody has a challenge with executive summary? Any questions on executive summary? Anybody has a challenge with executive summary so that we can move on? Okay, I doubt if we have a challenge with executive summary. So we've treated requirement 1's executive summary and the body of the work. So from our format here, you'll see that we've addressed significantly some of the issues in the report, and we're making headway. Let's see how to run and close in due time. All right, so having spoken to that, we'll now look at requirement 2. We don't have any questions for requirement 1. We'll now go to requirement 2. So let's go back to the exhibits that speaks to requirement 2. All right. So we have requirement 2 here saying we should analyze the strategic investment appraisal and financing, preparing a separate analysis to evaluate the proposed investment in the new after-sales car service. And we have that detailed in Exhibit 8. And our analysis should cover investment viability, quantitative appraisal of the project's viability using appropriate appraisal techniques, financing strategy, a recommendation on the optimal financing mix between equity injection and a new bank loan, considering the company's current high gearing and the interest rates provided in Exhibit 5 and 8, a justification on whether Folak Motors should proceed with the investment, incorporating both financial and non-financial factors, and a plan for market entry. All right, so let's go to Exhibit 8 and see the nitty-gritties. So Exhibit 8 has the proposal. We have the initial investment, which is 400 million on property, plant, and equipment. And the project is for 5 years. Then we have the residual value. This T is time, and the time is for 5 years, which is 40 million, remaining from the usage of this 400 million. And we have expected annual revenue of 120 million, variable cost 45, annual fixed cost excluding depreciation is 15. And the depreciation method should be straight line. Company income tax 30% as per the Exhibit 5. So we have the financing options to take a long-term debt of 25% fixed interest rate, a 5-year loan. We also have another option for the company shareholders to inject 50% of their current equity for initial investment. So any of these two will help us with our current financial challenge. And the project's hurdle rate is 18%. All right, so we also have this Exhibit 8 on the issue of original equipment manufacturer. We read it. We have the market data analysis. All right, so let's go to the numbers. Let's speak to these numbers. It's not quite a complex one. Lately, the examiner has brought very serious and complex computations in requirement 2. So try to see how to navigate them. Requirement 2 is always challenging to finish under time condition. The time is always short. We hardly have time to finish requirement 2, but please, I recommend you should try to address requirement 2. Don't leave it blank, unaddressed. Please, requirement 2 should be addressed. Please address it. Start and see how much you can go, and also write the report on it. So from our computation, we have the investment viability. We're trying to calculate for net present value. So the first thing is to calculate our annual revenue of 120 and to get the variable cost. So our contribution is always sales versus variable, sales minus variable cost. So we have our annual revenue for 120 with less variable cost, with less fixed operating cost. And we also come with profit before taxation, before depreciation and interest, which is 60. And when we come up with depreciation for 5 years on that 400 million, we have our 80 million for depreciation. We have a negative PBT of 20%. And we have tax rate of 6,000. We have profit before tax of 14. Then we need to add back depreciation. Don't forget, it's a non-cash movement of 80 again to have our positive outflow of 66 million. Don't forget, you have to add back depreciation. Depreciation is a non-cash movement. Don't forget that, especially for calculation of annual revenue. Those that are doing SFM, you know all that at this point. Those that have done SFM to know all those computational nitty-gritties. All right, so having done that, you've arrived at your annual net cash flow. We'll now come to our NPV calculation to get the outlay, and our discount factor is 18%. So we have our outlay, initial outlay of 400. Then we have our cash flow for 5 years, which we've calculated here for 66M. Then you know how to calculate this with your calculator, the discount factor, 1 plus rate raised to power 5. And you do for 5 years, you have 206 million for that. And we have our residual value at 5 years, 0.437 hurdle rate, you have 17M. So if you add 400 to these two positive cash flows, you have a negative NPV. You have a negative NPV. So I just did a short computation here to help project that. That means the project is not viable under this current computation and cost of capital because it's a negative NPV. So the second one is the finance strategy we asked. Even though the negative NPV, the NPV is negative, the board decided to, if the board decides to proceed, not based on these financial factors now, but based on non-financial factors, we're recommending the optimum mix should be 50% equity, 50% debt. And equity should be 200 million and debt should be 200 million, depending on what shareholders are willing to inject. And the justification is that it reduces gearing strain. Somebody may be asking, why are you making this recommendation in the appendices? Yeah, you are doing the computations here so that your discussions will be reduced and you don't have too much numbers in your discussion. That's why we are doing this. This is very important. So you are providing this so that you don't have enough numbers in your write-up. And that's why the financing strategy came under this. So we're saying that the reduced gearing strain would help if equity and debt are 50-50. And we also help to have tax shield because the new debt 200 million still proves an interest tax shield, reducing the effective cost of financing. And we also said it increases stakeholder confidence because there's commitment to new equity demonstration of what has been injected, and stakeholders' confidence will be boosted. Then we also said the factor and the conclusion based on financial and non-financial. So if we are looking at the financial viability, we cannot proceed because it's a negative present value. But if it's non-financial factors, they could proceed strategically to address some of the issues in the market. So I just provided this in the table for us to read so that you can have a lot to talk about and share some thoughts if the question or the unseen comes in this direction. So having spoken to this appendix or these calculations, I believe is clear and succinct enough for us to navigate through. Let's go and speak to the numbers now. So you've addressed the appendix of requirement 2, which is appendix 2. Requirement 2 are always appendix 2. Requirement 1 should be appendix 1. So depending on how many parameters you prepare, let it be 1, 2, 3, then appendix 2 will be requirement 2. Let it be A, B, C. Just provide your computations like that, A, B, C. But let it be appendix 1 for requirement 1, appendix 2 for requirement 2. It will help the examiner follow through your computations and your write-up very easily and seamlessly. Okay, so let's go to the write-up now. Very important because without the write-up, our numbers are useless because the numbers, everything you computed is just 4 marks. You cannot pass case study with just numbers. You have to pass it with your write-up. Okay, so let's run through the discursive aspect. See how to close out on that. So our heading will be the summary of requirement 2. Summarize it. And once again, I've warned, don't write financial data analysis as a header. And don't write requirement 2 as a header. Please don't do that, please. Okay, so for the headers and subheaders, we're looking at requirement 2. So for data and information, it's not necessarily financial statement overview or something. So it could be proposal overview or project overview, whatever it is you asked on requirement 2, use it as your headers and subheaders. So we said, I use proposal overview here to say, based on the exhibits, that Folak here outlines the establishment of a dedicated after-sales service aimed at capturing growth in Nigeria's vehicle maintenance and repair market. And concluded this by saying the finance options include a mix of new long-term and shareholder equity, allowing flexibility in funding and initial investment while aligning with the company's strategic and operational objectives. So any exhibit that resonates with requirement 2 is what you should discuss, please. Any exhibit that resonates with requirement 2 is what you should discuss. It will help you to provide context because you are generally discussing on requirement 2. So requirement 2's exhibit and whatever it is on requirement 2 should be what you are speaking to, especially in the area of data and information. This is very important to note. The second point now will now come into numbers, and the numbers are provided to us in the exhibit. So we're not doing computation yet. So we're saying Folak scale indicates initial investment of 400 million, variable cost 45, blah, blah. We just spoke to that general information in the exhibits. We now said also one of the financing options of this is a new bank loan or 5-year loan. So this is one of the options. Then we say another option is for the shareholders to inject 400 million, 50-50 debt, 50-50 equity, blah, blah, blah. So if you provide for discussion of whatever it is provided in the scenario, you've used information and data in the exhibits to pick 4 marks from this first box. So if you're provided with a model, whether requirement 1 and 2, now the second box is where you discuss it. So mostly those models used to come in requirement 2, or he integrates financial analysis with models. Whatever he does, don't forget that requirement 2, box 2 and 3 is where you discuss those models. Please take note of it. Now for the professional tools of requirement 2 under this preseen we've provided, or unseen we predicted. Now we want to talk about the computations, and we want to reference or cross-reference our appendix. We said the annual operating cash flow of Folak is about 66 million. We've computed that. We concluded by saying it highlights the actual cash impact of the project rather than purely accounting profits. So we say see appendix 2. So we're looking at the project's viability right now. Now we come to the NPV to talk about what we've computed and the negative impact or the negative number. And we're saying that the negative NPV implies that we are proceeding with the project as currently projected would destroy shareholder value. And we said we should see this appendix. Number 3, we're talking about the financing structure of balancing 50-50 and what it could do, looking at the company's financial risk, given its already high gearing. And we talked about this 50-50 as we provided in the analysis in appendix 2B. We also said the equity portion of 200 million helps to mitigate the risk of over-leveraging and provides greater financial flexibility for Folak Motors. See appendix 2B. We also said that the remaining 200 to debt, which is important for maintaining trust with investors, lenders, and other stakeholders. So the mix of equity and debt will help to stabilize the capital structure of the firm. So having spoken to this and you're conferencing with appendix, you can now analyze the proposal. Just a deeper and thorough analysis of what you've done in this viability area. And for the first part, we said this 66 million demonstrates that Folak can generate consistent cash flows. And we thoroughly said that it highlights the project's potential to fund itself independently, which is critical for evaluating its operational sustainability. So this is a follow-up. Your analysis is a follow-up of the tools you use because you're analyzing it further and thoroughly to provide context. You could also reference and cross-reference the appendix. The same thing here for the NPV. You are not repetitive now. What you're doing is thorough analysis of what you've calculated. And the same thing we did here. Third one is the analysis of the 50-50%, the capital injection analysis. And we also talked about the debt equity proportion. So if you do 4, you should be able to provide superior achievement, get your 4 marks, and move on. Now, for challenges and considerations, we're looking at areas around diversification into our after-sales market. So the strategic option here is that we're saying diversifying into the after-sales service market through Folak allows Folak Motors to reduce its reliance on vehicle imports and foreign currency or foreign exchange exposure. So this is a consideration here. And the second one is the financing option, talking about debt versus equity mix. We concluded here by saying that the 50-50 debt equity mix mitigates over leveraging while benefiting from a partial tax shield and maintaining stakeholder confidence, making it the most financially prudent option given the company's current capital structure. So these are considerations that are very important. Then for the non-financial risk, skill gap, and poor infrastructure, it was highlighted in Exhibit 2 and 4. And we said that investment in training programs and upgrading workshop facilities is essential to ensure operational efficiency, standardized service delivery, and customer satisfaction. And the pricing and part sourcing. Sorry, pardon me. I had a bit of a glitch. Please, can you hear me? It was just a short glitch.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. All right, so talking about challenges and considerations, we have, if we give 4, I've given us about 6, but you don't need to write 6 under exam condition because you don't have that time. So 4 is okay, and you move on. Then very importantly, ethical issues. This is very critical. You must talk about this. Very importantly. So for requirement 2, the accuracy of data is a skeptical area. You apply your professional skepticism. So the financial data used to calculate Folak's care investment, how viable, how true are they, these estimates? So there may be discrepancies needing adjustments that will affect the project's assessed viability. Maybe some numbers is even what made it culminate in negative NPV. Who knows? So that's where you display your professional skepticism or ethical issue. The annual revenue also, it is assumed that 120 million may be optimistic, as it's unclear whether it's grounded in a detailed market survey or realistic client acquisition estimate. So we should be skeptical about this and bring it under this parameter or this header. Cost estimate also, the projected variable and fixed cost may be understated given the high forex volatility and rising price. So this is an ethical or critical issue. Number 4 is the 18% weighted average cost of capital. Assuming the risk profile of Folak Care is similar to Folak Motors' existing operations, this 18%, how did they come about it? So these are areas you can talk about under this box of ethical issue. And so for some of us that spoke about asking about sustainability compliance, if sustainability is injected, maybe the second requirement, this is where you bring it on, and you're just looking at areas that are ethical issues or critical to the. Now, for risk assessment or evaluative skills and judgment, we could speak to the 50-50% area, but from a risk perspective. Now, we're saying reducing the risk over leveraging is the negative aspect, but positively, it limits additional if we do 50-50 from the risk perspective. And sorry, that's positively. Then for negatively, the high 25% on debt portion increases finance cost, which could strain cash flows if project revenues underperform. So the mixed financing option, we're assessing risk in the proposal of that 50-50 equity debt capital structure proposal. For strategic alignment, the issue of reducing import reliance. We're saying that positively, this diversification into after-sales services strengthens revenue stability and builds local capacities. while negatively we said that the project supports company strategic by reducing dependence on imported vehicles and spare parts. So from both perspective of risk, you could speak to the strategic alignment on reducing import reliance. The third aspect is skills gap and operational infrastructure. Skills gap and this is a non-financial risk actually, but we're saying that positively investment in training and model can build long-term capabilities, while negatively delays in recruiting or skilling staff could affect service delivery and customer satisfaction. The next one is market acceptance and competition. You could look at the risk aspect of it negatively and positively. And the next one is revenue and cost assumptions, looking at the positive and negative risk around that. So if you give 4, which is superior achievement, you've achieved or picked the 4 marks for the evaluative skills and judgment box. So let's conclude now quickly. The conclusions on financial availability, we're saying that the project is actually negative, but strategically, why the idea of diversification and after-sales value chain expansion is sound, the current assumption do not convincingly justify the investment. So we are concluding on the financial availability of the project. The financial strategy on the 50-50%, we're concluding leverage, strain liquidity, and increased vulnerability to cash flow shocks may not support this strategy, but 50-50 is what we are concluding on. Then for risk management, the critical consideration is addressing non-financial risks, skills gap, operational infrastructure limitation, and reliance on imported equipment. So risk management is a conclusion. Then for market and revenue risk also, then ethical compliance. So 4, conclusion, don't forget, is high. This is what we should aim for. Then for recommendations, the same thing we are recommending. Don't forget your recommendation should be smart based on what we've concluded on. So recommend the solution. Conclusion I used to state is the statement of the problem, while recommendation is the solution to the problem. So your solution should be very smart and provided solution based on financial availability, financial strategy, or financing strategy, risk management, market revenue risk, and ethical compliance. So practice with this, and don't forget to sign out who you are in the case. Always sign out the report. This is very important. After concluding requirement 1 and 2, please sign out the report as who you are in the case. All right, so let's go and write our executive summary as we are done with requirement 2. This is actually hard under exam condition because most of it hardly have time to even come and finish up. But then start it, let the examiner see that we are in the process. Okay, so for requirement 2, we'll state the heading very shortly, say an evaluation of the viability of the project. So we state 1 positive finding, similarly, and state 1 negatively. So we said, based on the conclusions, just what we've discussed in the body of the rock, we just summarize it. 1, based on the balance 50-50 debt equity inclusion. 2, addressing non-financial risk like skip gap. 3, projected annual revenue of 120 million. 4, full disclosure of strict adherence to OEM parts. And we spoke to the recommendations in very short-lined summary form. Fund the project primarily through equity or balanced mix to limit financial risk. We're addressing requirement 1, conclusion 1. And the second one is on risk management. 3rd, market and revenue risk. 4th is on we should mandate full disclosure of non-OEM parts or use original equipment manufacturer parts to safeguard brand information. So these 4 requirements address the 4 conclusions very succinctly. And that will be it for our executive summary. So a lot of people don't do this, but it's 4 marks. But please try to do it. It helps you. Maybe you're having 49, 48. You don't know when you need these small 4 marks. So please try to do it. And that speaks to your introduction and background page. So introduction is just stating the aim of the report again, just like you did in the executive summary, but this one is in short form. The methodology, and in reviewing the financial data, your reservations and skepticism. And don't forget your report outlines. Your report outline. This full page is, everything here is 1 mark. Then this report outline is another 1 mark. So the report outline is trying to state where you've provided the data like a project. You may say, I don't have time for this, but then please, if you have time, do it. You don't know where you need the 1 mark. So the report outline will state explicitly everything you've done. So as you're practicing, practice with this, and that will give us 2 marks here. Then when you come to background, the actual background will be provided on the exam day. The background information of where the company is. In the Preseen, it was not provided, but on the exam day, it will be provided. But I just coined this logically from the Preseen. So have the background, then you have scope and limitation, and this is another 2 marks for you to glean. Scope is the period that was given to you to cover in the financials. Then the limitations is what you were not given in the Preseen and the unseen. So these 2 marks, this page is 2 marks. This other page on introduction is 2 marks, and that will be it. So ladies and gentlemen, we are done with the little analysis on the Preseen and the unseen material for the diet. Yes, please. AO, your hands are up. Please go ahead. Yeah, Joshua will come to you. Let AO speak. Yeah, please.
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation, sir. I just wanted
You're
to
welcome.
ask, on that introduction page where you had the report outline, the aspects where it's saying requirement 1, requirement 2, are we still supposed to call it that or call it whatever we've named it? Because here you're saying requirement 1, requirement 2. Should we leave it as that, or should we change it like when we're writing the actual requirement, whatever the title should be, for example?
Okay, good question. So this one, leave it like that, because this one is just a map, is a navigation page for them to be able to navigate. So you don't need to write the requirement verbatim. So requirement 1 here, requirement 2 will suffice. The examiner knows how to navigate this. What is important is the paging. He wants to know where the page is from his format. So good question. Leave requirement 1 with requirement 2 here. You don't need to write financial performance or project appraisal here. Requirement 1 and 2 will suffice. It's good. It's fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question. All right. Jay, let's have you. Your hands are up.
Thank you very much for all you have been doing. Now, I want my question that you said during your own time you stop halfway on the requirement 2. So my question is now, if you stop halfway in requirement 2, did you complete your executive summary for requirement 2? That's my question. And now, is it advisable? We know what we want to write in requirement 2, but the time has failed us. Is it ideal for us to leave it and go back to executive summary and summarize what we have not written? That is that one. Now, the last one is that looking at the background and then the introduction, while writing requirement 2, and you see that the time has failed you because they will be calling 20 minutes, 15 minutes. So is it ideal for you to abandon requirement 2 and then just go and catch up your format in introduction and background? It's just all about techniques and time management. That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic questions. So you weigh it now. If you look at your format, you weigh where the marks are. So if I were you, these 4 marks, if I can glean them by getting some marks in this body of report, and I aim at some marks in this executive summary, then I will leave this introductory aspect. This is just 4 marks. So if I've not written ethical issues, for example, I know ethical issues is 4 marks, risk assessment 4 marks, I will concentrate on these marks because these ones are much. I'll try to finish up this, rush to executive summary, then leave this introduction. So under exam condition, this introduction is just 4 marks. So your markings now should be targeted at the highest ones. So your writings here, these are where the significant marks are. Now, if you've done requirement 1's executive summary, the examiner knows that you've prepared that. So after you've done this write-up, and they are saying 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you can come and summarize every executive summary here because this is a requirement, is a prerequisite. So what you didn't write here in requirement 2, you can summarize it here since you have the thoughts and put them down in the executive summary for requirement 2. So I agree with your submission that based on time management and trying to see how to get the marks, you can leave the write-up and leave introduction and background. So introduction and background is if you have spare time. which is challenging and very hard under exam condition. That 4 hours is very small. So try to gain more of the chunk of the marks, the heavy marks that will get you through 50, 60, 70, which is very easy to score in case study anyway. You can score 80, 90, but then just make sure you target the ones with the heavy marks and leave this introductory and background. Don't leave heavy marks for introductory and background. This is just for marks. So try to glean these ones, get your executive summary, and wrap up your report. So good question, good observation. I love that, G. Thank you for bringing that to the fore.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So any other questions? Any observations?
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. I want to ask on the area of the outlines on the introduction page. Are we supposed to also numbers report page?
Yes.
Just like
so,
you
is it
like now on this one
page?
now, you know, this is a type document, so it's easy to number.
Yes.
So are we supposed to also number in our answer scripts?
Yes, please.
Maybe
please
starting
number it
from the cover page.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, please number it. Yes, it's very important so that it's on screen marking. The examiners do so that your thoughts or your scripts can be followed through. So please number your pages. It's very good. I think the ICAN scripts are pre-numbered, except if you collect answer extra script. Those ones are not pre-numbered. I don't know. Are they pre-numbered? Please, somebody should clarify. Are the scripts pre-numbered? So they are pre-numbered. I don't think numbering again would suffice. So I think the first script, the bulk.
So for our introductory page now, the page number we are to put there are the numbers on the scripts.
Yes,
not
that
we starting from. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So these places are the numbers you have on the script. Then if you collect extra answer sheet, so maybe the pre-numbered first script given to you is 1 to 30. So any extra script sheet you collect, because most of the time you collect extra sheet for case study for those that write a lot. So you can number the additional extra scripts page. So maybe page 1 to 30 is the initial one given to you. You can continue 31, 32, 33 so that you can fill this report outline if you have the time. So that's it. I think would suffice. It will help you address that challenge. All right. Any other question? Any challenge? Okay. So we have from now till Thursday for the exam. So please, you can reach out to the group DM if you have any challenge with the question, or you have a challenge with the model, you have any concern before the day of the exams as you're practicing, as you're going through, especially a lot of people are one paper gang here. One paper gang, I mean, is one paper, people that are having just one paper to qualify. So if it's case study that is keeping you, please practice till Thursday and you can reach out freely. And don't forget, confidence is key. No matter what you read, if you don't have confidence, number 1 is God confidence. Number 2 is self-confidence. It's very important to have those two. If you don't have those two, no matter what you read, you keep fidgeting and be afraid, and it may get you off guard. So number 1 is pray. You can't remove the place of prayer. We have Christians, we have Muslims on the call, yes. And the 2 cardinal ingredients of these faiths are prayers. So we believe in the help from above. You just need the help. Of course, we've put in effort, but then our effort without its effect will tantamount to a fail also. So depend on God and depend on yourself. God confidence and self-confidence is very important. Don't forget I said these exams is not a test of your intelligence. No, it's a test of preparation. That's just it. A lot of people are intelligent that did not pass exams. They didn't go through the 4 walls of school. And they are doing very well in life. But then it's just a test of our preparation. So don't take it hard. I failed case study. Somebody told me I failed case study 5. Dull. You are not dull. You're just not well prepared. So please, I'm just encouraging you. Go with that core confidence. Pray. And for retentive memory, be confident in yourself. I can do this. Speak to yourself. Look at the mirror. I can do this. Anytime I'm scared of an exam, written quite some exams. I look at myself, I start speaking to myself. It gets you a kind of confident. Tell yourself, the fidgeting, the fear, the fever. I felt all that during ICAN exams. I went through it. You start feeling fever, and after the exams, everything is calm. Speak to yourself, you will pass it. That's just it. So my encouragement to you is, please go for the 5 paper gang, 4 paper gang, 3 paper gang, 2, 1. Testimony, and we'll be professional colleagues at the end of the day. So thank you very much for the opportunity to help in this capacity. I'm grateful for the privilege. I never took it as a free paid tuition, and that is why I put in the best of everything in the content and everything I provide. I did not have some of these privileges when I was writing the paper, so I tried to see how to help those that may not have the capacity to pay for paid tuition to have the same value from paid tuition, and even more. And that's why I did a lot of research. Most of the time I wasn't meeting up with engagements, because working as the senior internal auditor in a very large mining space, it's actually demanding. So work demands, family demands, and also lecturing, tutoring is quite challenging. But then I appreciate your patience with my inadequacies and not meeting up with lectures at times. But at least I was able to deliver some value for you to use to pass case study. If you have followed through most of what I've done, I believe you pass case study very easily and seamlessly. I actually paid, when I passed case study, I paid for Platinum Gold's material, and it helped me. I must acknowledge that Platinum Gold in Lagos gave me that leverage, because their materials were good, their videos top notch, and that is why I decided to come up with something free, even better than theirs, to help upcoming accountants in this space to be able to navigate case study and the AAAF paper I teach very seamlessly. So I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for believing in me and for giving me that privilege to support you in this little capacity. I wish you all the best, and please reach out before Thursday if you have any challenge. My DM is opened. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, everybody, for the emojis. So at this junction, we'll stop here, and I wish you guys all the best. So have a lovely night rest, happy reading, happy reviews, and good night.